Good morning. It is time for your fasting and feasting devotional, and today we are on day 27, which happens to be a fasting day. The title for today is I Will Not Be Mastered. And so let's just go ahead and get right into it. 1 Corinthians 6 verse 12 says, everything is permissible for me, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible for me, but I will not be mastered by anything. It's cold in my office this morning. As I write these words, I'm wearing wool socks and sipping the perfect cup of tea. It's Earl Grey, steeped just long enough and with a touch of honey, steamed milk, and a dash of cinnamon, one of God's first gifts of the day. Read 1 Corinthians 6 verses 12 and 13. That says, you say, for me, everything is permitted. Maybe, but not everything is helpful. For me, everything is permitted. Maybe, but as far as I'm concerned, I am not going to let anything gain control over me. Food is meant for the stomach and the stomach for food. Maybe, but God will put an end to both of them. Anyhow, the body is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord is for the body. As we open our Bible once again to consider faith and food, Paul's words are a reminder that in the tea of life, the gospel is not the honey. It is not a little something sweet we might add when we're in the mood. It's not the dollop of whipped cream on top or a dash of something extra. The gospel is the tea leaves infused into everything we believe, think, and do. Scripture calls us to operate steeped and saturated with the good news of Christ's work in our lives. Bible scholars think Corinthian believers were fond of a certain saying, one that went something like this: everything is permissible for me. Through the teaching of Paul and the apostles, these new Christians had only recently discovered the doctrine of grace, not faith. How liberating that must have felt, so much so that they faced the temptation to use grace as a permission slip for sin. Paul's words lend an essential balance. Yes, it's true that Jesus made a way for us to be redeemed by grace through faith, Ephesians 2 verses 8 and 9. This really is good news because as sinners we are incapable of earning righteousness by perfectly keeping God's perfect law. But when we see grace as a blank check to do whatever we want, we miss the reason God gave us the law in the first place. Every command is for our good. Following the law of God results in our thriving. This truth reminds me of parenting. My children would eat cotton candy for breakfast every morning if they could. That wouldn't make me any less their mother. I'd still love them with my whole heart. I'd still care for their needs. I'd still be fiercely devoted to them, but they'd have belly aches. Their growth would stunt. Their teeth would rot and fall out. This is a picture for what Paul is describing in these verses. Good things become bad things when they control us. Money is God's provision, but when it masters us, we become its slave. Work is God's gift, but when it masters us, it becomes a heavy burden. Relationships are God's gift, but when they master us, we let them be the boss of us. This is why every part of our lives needs a gospel infusion. We have the opportunity to practice the mastery of loving God's law and living under the doctrine of grace every day with food. Sure, a caffeine addiction is permissible for you. You can drink 20 cups a day and God won't love you any less, but it isn't beneficial. Yep, you can eat 10,000 calories a day if you want to. Excuse me, God will still meet your needs, but your God-given body won't. You will struggle to live the abundant life Christ offers. Sure, eat cotton candy for breakfast, but you're going to have a bellyache. We often approach food with our own version of the Corinthians mantra, ever wondering, can't I just eat what I want? The answer is, yes, you can, but while the Bible gives us answers, it also gives us better questions. When it comes to food, what masters you? When it comes to food, what is best for you? Jesus invites us into a rhythm of self-denial, not motivated by fear or violating the law, but motivated by gratitude for the extravagant grace we've been given. Only when our lives are infused with the gospel are we able to face food's many temptations with balance. Fasting is one way we can show food who the boss is. For a meal or a day or week when we fast, we stand up to food and say, I will not be mastered. It is not a ritual. It is not a rule. It is a choice to operate from what is beneficial instead of simply what is permissible. For the follower of Christ, embracing the practice of fasting is one way we can live a life perfectly steeped in gospel truth. Setting the table, inviting the feast. Use the prayer prompts below to ask the Lord to do an abundant work in your life. Setting the table. Lord, show me areas where I've been mastered by food. Write down whatever comes to mind. Inviting the feast. Jesus, show me where I've been operating according to what is permissible instead of what is beneficial, and teach me how to do the opposite. I cannot do this without your help. And that is our devotional for today. I hope it blessed you, and I do hope you take time to write down those answers for those prompts. That will be in the description of the video. But for now, I'm going to say have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for day 28.